Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our first webinar for 2026. I'm Cindy Robichaux, and along with Pat Clancy and Tammy Richard, we are happy to host tonight's webinar. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's just make sure my stuff's working. There we go. Before we start, we would like to acknowledge that the land on which County of Essex is located is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederation of the First Nations, comprised of Ojibwe, Odawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, including Huron, Wyandot, and Wyandot bands. As family historians, we have all answered the call to discover those who came before us, to share their names, to tell their stories, and to remember them. We do have a couple of housekeeping items. This presentation is being recorded and will be available on our branch YouTube channel, which has over 70 other educational recordings that you might be interested in. So be sure to browse our YouTube channel. So as Barb just mentioned, your microphones and your cameras have been turned off, but there's been a little bit of update with Zoom. So hopefully you're able to ask your questions of the four of us. So either if you click on the new chat, the little the white square with the plus sign in it, you should see Tammy, myself, the speaker Rhonda, or Pat, and you can send your questions to any of us, and we will get to your questions at the end of the script, at the end of the presentation. So let's get started with our topics tonight. For anyone joining us for the first time, let me tell you a little bit about the Ontario Ancestors. Ontario Ancestors, also known as the Ontario Genealogical Society, is a nonprofit registered charity which was founded in 1961. It is the largest genealogical society in Canada with a mission to encourage, bring together, and assist those interested in the pursuit of family history and to preserve Ontario's genealogical heritage. Be sure to visit the OGS website and learn more about the resources and supports available to assist you in your family history research. Ontario Ancestors has over 30 branches and several special interest groups all across Ontario, including us, the Essex County branch. The Essex Branch Family History Collections are housed at two locations. The Essex Branch Collection is housed at the Windsor Public Library Local History Branch on Sandwich Street in Windsor. And the Franco-Ontarian Research Center Collection is housed at the former Maryvale Convent on Prince Road in Windsor. Visit our Essex Branch website for more details and directions to these locations. We always like to connect with people interested in genealogy and local history. You can connect with us at these emails. You can also join our branch Facebook group that has hundreds of people who are interested in genealogy and local history. And then be sure to visit the Essex Branch website, which has many resources for both our branch members, but also for the general public. We definitely look forward to connecting with you. Our next webinar will be on March the 10th at 7 p.m. Local historians and authors Elaine Weeks and Chris Edwards will discuss their newest book, A River Runs Between, which examines the unique relationship and shared history between Windsor and Detroit. Everyone is welcome to attend. Just register on our website. So now for tonight's presentation, Practical AI for Family History. Pat Clancy will introduce our guest speaker, Rhonda Hoffman, who is joining us from Buffalo, USA. Pat, take it away.
Thank you, Cindy. Rhonda Hoffman is the genealogy specialist at the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. She is a board member of Western New York Genealogical Society and has authored articles for popular genealogy periodicals such as NGS Magazine and the New York Researcher. Rhonda has been a featured presenter at the New York State Family History Conference and was recently honored by the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society for her 25-year career serving genealogists. Welcome, Rhonda, and we will pass it over to you now.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad that you all came. I'm going to go ahead and get started sharing my screen. Let me just minimize this here. So today's topic is practical AI for family history. And I'm really excited about AI. I think, we all still have a lot to learn, but hopefully I can teach you some new things tonight. First, a little bit, some background information about AI. Um, I'm not going to go into detail about this tonight, but I do recommend that you use caution and ethics when you're using AI. And there's a website for the Coalition for Responsible Artificial Intelligence in Genealogy that talks about things like AI may not be accurate, it can have hallucinations and make things up. You want to be careful when you're inputting information. When you're using AI. So you don't want to put information about um, living people in there or very private information. Um, and recently, if any of you happen to be Legacy Family Tree webinars, there's this really good webinar that I watched. If you want to learn more about principles and ethics, it's Foundations in AI for Family History, Part 3. And that's very useful if you want to learn more information about ethics. In terms of keeping up with I recently read this book called Lean Learning, How to Achieve More by Learning Less by Pat Flynn. And the author recommends that you learn what you need to know for action. And I think that's a good policy for AI. Now, if you want to build your business around AI and want to be a speaker and talk about everything that you can, you're going to want to keep up more. But I do think you want to watch what webinars are out there and what piques your interest. Certainly watch the webinars, but know that you don't have to learn every single thing about AI. You want to think about the projects that you're working about, your own genealogy, and see what you think will fit in for what you're doing. So tonight, I'm going to be using large language models, especially ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, I asked ChatGPT to explain what a large language model is. And it's a type of artificial intelligence designed to understand and generate human language. It learns from lots of text. It learned from lots of books and articles and websites and written material. It understands patterns. It's very good in understanding patterns of writing and language. It can generate text once it learns these patterns, and it gets better with size. So the more and more information it knows, the better it gets at learning and working how we want it to. The first topic is transcribing records, and some things that you want to know before you start having it transcribe your records is you have to look at the quality of the image. So you want a high quality image, use the best resolution possible. You can see to the left, it's much clearer image than it is to the right, which is more pixelated. So get the best image that you can. You want to adjust dark, low contrast items. So the more contrast, the better. And if you can't read the handwriting, it's unlikely that AI can read the handwriting. Now it's getting better and better, but if it's really horrible writing, it may not be able to read it. So don't think that it's a miracle worker. Now, in this talk, I like to give a couple of cool tools that I think are helpful and that use artificial intelligence in some way. And this what I'm going to talk about first is called Genius Scan. It's an app for your phone or tablet, and it's powered by artificial intelligence. And this is something that could help you get your documents ready for transcribing. So if you open up the app, it looks like this to the left. And if you wanted to take an image, this is something I like to use when I'm out at a library or archive, but you can also upload your own files on your computer if you have any that you want to do that. And you just click that orange button and you just hover your phone or tablet over whatever it is that you want to scan. And you can see it puts the orange box around it. And now this document that I'm showing you, this is something typical that I do. If I get, someone to let me take a photo of a document or something, I'll forget to flatten something out and it might look a little bit bent or, something might be off about the document. Um, so what you can do is you can optimize the image. If you click on the edit on the left-hand side there, and then you look to the right, you can see that there's different options, like you can crop the image, you can rotate it, you see that you can auto colorize it, you can change it from black and white to color. There's different levels. So to the far left, that's automatic, and I think automatic usually does a good job. It'll usually have a combination of black and white and color on it. The middle is more of a softer level of changing the image, and to the far right, that's a more straight black and white, so it takes some of that noise, a little more noise out of the background. And what is wonderful about it, my favorite thing, is it does curvature correction. So if you look at the image to the left, you can see how it's bent. And if you turn that button, the curvature correction on, then it flattens it out. And I think it's brilliant. It's great for flattening out books. So here you can see how it's bent, and here how you can see it nicely flatten things out. So that'll make it easier if you decide you want this transcribed or just for your own records to make something look nicer. A lot of times I'll do a book. So this is a scrapbook, and you can see how it's sloped to the left. And then when I do the curvature correction, it flattens things out. Now that was all with the free version of the app. If you wanted to buy a subscription, then you can actually, it will transcribe text for you. So you can see where I circled the text button. If you click on that, if you look to the right, it starts transcribing the record, and you can open up those little arrows, and to the right, it's got the full transcription of this page. Now, it doesn't work for handwriting, but if you prefer this over using AI like the large language models, you could use this app as well. And then the free version allows you to email the document to yourself, and the paid version allows you to upload documents to things like Google Drive or Dropbox and other services. So let's get into transcribing with Transcribus. This is a free transcribing website, and it's an online digitization platform, and it uses AI to read and transcribe documents. It does individual documents. So the free version, you can do an individual document at a time. So maybe you would want to use this to transcribe a family diary or church records. And then you'll have printed text, which is easier to read and makes it keyword searchable, and you could share it with your family. This is what the site looks like, and all you have to do is you want to first, and this is what I always forget, is you need to choose the language of the document. So choose whatever language that the document is in. And then you click select file and you upload the image. So the image would have to be saved to your computer. And here I uploaded a diary, and you can see it did some transcribing to the right. And you might notice that there are some errors in it if you were to compare it. And what I like about Transkribus is if you can see it kind of as you move your mouse over the right-hand side over the transcription line by line, it draws a circle around the image that's to the left so you can compare them side by side. And this is, a nice way to see what might be off with the document. And then what you can do is you could download the transcription as a PDF file or a Word doc, or you can copy the text to the clipboard. So what I'm going to show you, I did copy to the clipboard. And then what you could do, if you see errors, you can use ChatGPT or another large language model to correct misspellings. And when you're making a prompt, whenever you're using a large language model, you want to give it a prompt. And a good thing to do is to write a role. So whatever it is that you want them to do. So act as a professional proofreader. And that's what I'm going to have it do this time. You want to give some instructions, what you want it to do, correct the misspellings in this text, leave the line returns as they are in the text, keep the punctuation and capitalization as it is in the text. I like to give it a little bit of context that helps AI understand it. And I'll say, this text is from a U.S. Civil War diary. And then you want to give it the resource. So in this case, it was copied text. So here is the text, and then you paste the text in the chat. So here's what ChatGPT looks like. And you can see I gave it all that information. One little tip, if I like to kind of see line returns between these, it really doesn't matter for the AI. It can make sense of whatever you paste in there. But if you like to put line returns in there, for me, you hit Shift and Enter on your keyboard, and that'll add a line return between your instructions. And these are the results. So to the left, you can see the image. In the middle is what Transkribus did. And then to the right is what ChatGPT did. And if something is red and underlined there to the right, that ChatGPT transcribed that wrong. So it transcribed the colonel's last name wrong. But what is wonderful is, because it's good at predicting language, even though I pasted in, now I never gave them the image of this record. I just gave that typed out text from Transkribus. You'll notice I circled Albany, Virginia, and Transkribus, they put Alvany, Alvanyja, instead of Albany, Virginia. And ChatGPT was able to guess that language. And then if you see a little ways down, I put desired. And if you look at the text on Transkribus, instead of desired, it's the spelling Tesereof. And it was able to predict that language. And then way down at the bottom, the last word, May, Transkribus capitalized it like it's the month of May, but ChatGPT knew from the language that it's just the word May, not the month of May. Now, of course, you can use the large language models to transcribe the document. So I put this document in ChatGPT and I asked it to act as a professional transcriptionist, transcribe the text in the scanned image, leave the line returns, punctuation, and capitalization as they are in the original document. The image is from a U.S. Civil War diary, and then I attached the document. So that's what that looks like. To attach the document, you can see there's a little plus symbol down towards the corner of that bubble. And that's where you attach the document. And then you just click the arrow and it will start doing what you asked. And this is the transcription it gave me. And this is a comparison. The red box in the middle is what ChatGPT did, and it did a great job. It got the colonel's name wrong. And it did have a couple things off with the punctuation, but other than that, it was accurate. So it really did a great job. Now, this is a more complicated document. It's an 1839 land lease, so it's a little bit older handwriting. You can see it's longer and very dense. So for this, I gave it the role. Again, you're a professional transcriptionist, transcribe the document exactly as it's written. For the context, I like if it has some unusual important terms or if there's some main names, I like to feed it that information, just, especially if the handwriting's not as good. So I put this is a page from a land lease from Cattaraugus County, New York, between Samuel C. Williams, Mark Williams, and Polly Williams. And sometimes you want to put checks in place. So if you think it might have difficulty reading the document, I put, if you have difficulty reading any alphanumeric character or punctuation mark, put brackets around the character or punctuation mark. And then the results format, I said, please give it to me in the format that is easily copied to be pasted into MS Word. And then I attached the scan. And it did a good job. It looks like a lot of the language is accurate, but it didn't do my line by line transcription. I wanted it exactly as it was in the document. So you may need to add more prompts to revise the work. So, I simply said, please adjust the line returns to match the original document. And I wanted to see how that worked out. And it didn't work so well. It still had some issues. So then I asked it to put a hard return at the end of each line to reflect the same line returns as the original document. The lines still aren't matching. And you'll see I boxed off that it thought for 3 minutes and 19 seconds. And it did take a while. I was surprised. But in the end, it gave me, it returned instead of just straight text. It gave me some computer code that I could then copy and paste, and it did paste in there correctly. So sometimes you have to say things in different ways to AI to get it to do what you want. And I use the paid version of ChatGPT for this. I also did the free version, and it gave almost the exact same results. So the color coding that you see here, the yellow is just some capitalization differences. The blue, there was some punctuation that it missed. The green means that word was wrong or that part of a word was wrong. And the pink means there were some missing words in that section. Now, there is also a free anonymous way to search using ChatGPT, and you can actually attach documents. So I wanted to see how the not logged in version of ChatGPT would do with that document, and it didn't do well. So you're not going to get as good of quality if you don't log into an account. And again, you can make a free account. And it did do a good job with a free account. But you're going to get better results when you do have the free logged in account. And with the free account, you'll get less times. Eventually it'll say, okay, you've done enough tries and you can come back in a few hours and do some more later. But you'll see this free anonymous version, all of this green text was wrong, or it hallucinated. Now, I just wanted to show you around a year ago, I did it with a paid version, the same document, and all the green, it hallucinated that information. It was totally not what was in the document. So ChatGPT has really come a long way, to go from all of that green to just that little bit of green. So you do need to be careful. Sometimes AI does make things up when it can't figure something out, and it'll appear accurate. The language that it gave me, it sounded like something that would be in a lease. Now, here's another tip. So if you want to see the transcription, if you're someone that does not have multiple monitors where you can put one thing on one screen and one on another, there's a little tip that some people don't know about. I like to have a document with my transcribed transcription from ChatGPT and keep that document open. And then I'll open the image that was transcribed. And then this is for Windows computers. If you hit the Windows key and the Z key, it will split the screen for you and you can configure it in multiple ways. And so like I wanted the configuration that was like number 4 there, and I wanted this Word document open on the right-hand side. So I clicked that little rectangle. And then for the other side, it gave me a choice of windows to open. So I clicked the lease document, and then I could view them side by side and make any corrections that are necessary. And of course, we always have to, read it over because it is going to make some kind of mistake. Now, another cool tool, AI is really good at translating, but I like to show people this tool, and it is Google Translate using the Google app, and it's Google Lens that does this. So you can use this on a smartphone or tablet, and it uses AI for translation. So this is something, again, that especially if you're out in an archive, and you don't have time to scan something, you can use this to read a foreign language document. So you just use the plain old Google app, just with the big G there. And then when you open it up, it will look like to the right-hand side, and you see a banana. And you click on that banana, and then you take your phone and you hover your phone over whatever it is that you want translated. And then it will just automatically translate it for you. So then once you have it held up there, so to the left, I have that held up to the screen, and you click the translate button, and then you can see to the right, it just put English over the Polish text. So here it is zoomed in. So it kind of looks like a little paste over. Now, if you would like a script, you can click on the translate button from there. And so to the left, that is the top of the screen, and that's the Polish. It transcribed the Polish. And then if you keep scrolling down, that's what I'm showing on the right-hand side of the screen, that it translated all of that for you. And then you can click the share button. You can email that text to yourself or save it to a notes app, whatever you'd like to do. So that's kind of nice if you want to, if you're looking at a Polish language document, and it only does type text, it doesn't do handwriting. But if you have something that's typed text and you just kind of want to get an idea of what is in that document, this is a great thing to use. And now we have, this is a book at the library that I work at that we had professionally translated. So to the right is the human translation, and to the left is the Google translation. And what I underlined and read were things that I thought, sounded weird, or maybe there was something a little inaccurate, like the name. I didn't like his name is Jakob, and changed it to Jacob, and then there was just some odd language for the rest of it. But it really did a good idea, a good job, and it's something good to just use when you're out at an archive. Now, I went ahead, and for this one, I'm using Google Gemini, which is another LLM, and you can use the free version. I do have a paid version of this. So I fed it that same page, and I said, "You're a professional translator who is proficient in Polish and English. Please translate the attached text." And it did a great job. It did reformat the way it looked, but when I read this, it's kind of sounds, it sounds really nice. And the layout actually kind of makes it easier to read than the actual layout of the book. Another thing that you can do is extract data and put it into a table. So this is where I got this image from, just to let you know this was an image from Family Search, and it's an obituary. And so the role I said is act as a professional genealogist. The context, this is an obituary of Lorraine Adset. Don't include information outside of the obituary. Tell me when you're unclear about any of the relationships. And then the instructions, please draw a table of the family members of Lorraine Adset using the information found in this obituary. Put the relationship in a column, the family member's given name and middle name or initial in a column, the family member's surname in a column, if the family member was deceased in a column, and show me how you determine the relationship in a column so you can understand their reasoning. In the format, please provide the results in a comma delimited file so the data can be easily copied and pasted into a spreadsheet. Please provide a code block so I can do this. And then I attached a scan of the obituary. And for that one, I used Claude AI, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to play this short video so you can kind of see how this works live. This is the free version. So I pasted in the instructions. I hit the plus symbol to add, attach the document. And then you simply hit that arrow. And it's pretty quick. And it gave me notes about what it was unclear about. You know, it mentions several nieces and nephews, but doesn't name them, and how they determined who the grandchildren were. And then you can copy that text by clicking right there. And the next steps, what you can do is open up Microsoft Excel. And if you click on paste and you say use text import wizard, and then you're going to walk through these steps. And now the handout shows you these. You're getting all of my slides, so you can see how to do that once you're at home. So you choose a delimited file. You select my data has headers. You want to have the delimiters as a comma. That's like the separators between the different bits of information. I like the column to kind of read, you know, as text, you know, versus a date or something else. And then it will paste that information into the spreadsheet. Now, I did do a little formatting. So I had to adjust the column widths and I did bold the headings, but otherwise that pasted it in there. So that's sort of the more techie if you want to show off a little bit version. You could also, you know, after I did that, I said, please make a table for me with the same information. And often, you know, you can easily, you know, copy and paste it if they have it in a table format. You can see it opened up a side-by-side window there, and it gave me the information in a table. And then you can just copy that text and paste it into a spreadsheet or like a Microsoft Word table or something like that. Now you can also give it some extra instructions. So I'm giving it an additional task to summarize. So I said, please provide a bulleted list summarizing biographical and genealogical information about Lorraine Adset. And it gives, you know, a nice breakdown so that you can see all the facts, you know, read it maybe a little bit easier than as it, you know, as it was all grouped together in the newspaper clipping. Some other things that I like to summarize. sometimes you have those great finding aids. Like in the US, our National Archives has these really long descriptions of the different record sets. And maybe I don't want to read through that whole thing, at least to start out. I want to see, what is this record set about? Is it going to help me with my research? Um, and so, like off to the right, there's a PDF file about this document set, and it has to do with the U.S. Revolutionary War records. It's miscellaneous numbers known as the manuscript file, and I didn't know what that might contain. Um, so for this one, I'm going to go live, and I'm going to just switch over to the internet. And so for this, I'm in Google Gemini. You can see I put a prompt in here. You're a professional genealogist. This is a finding aid for a document collection from the U.S. National Archives. Please summarize the content, including historical background, types of records included, and the records that pertain to New York. And I attached the document, and it's numerous pages long. And then I just submit it. And let's see how it goes. So we have a nice overview there. We've got some historical context. Let me just scroll my screen here. Oops, sorry about that. It gives me some nice, bulleted historical background. It gives me the types of records that are included, just like I wanted. Um, Pay accounts, settlement of accounts, receipts for supplies. The records were removed from pension application files, including lists of pensioners and letters of administration. And then it tells me a specific range, the numerical range in these records that pertains to New York State and what might be included there. So that's another, it's very quick and easy to summarize things with AI. The next thing I'm going to show you, and I'm sure some of you have used this before, my own personal opinion is the best thing that has come out of AI for genealogy is family search full text. Um, so if you haven't used it yet, Family Search has used AI to make transcriptions of like millions and millions of records. Right now, it's mainly English language and Spanish language documents. I saw an update that they're going to be experimenting with other languages this year, so hopefully they'll make some great strides with that. And this is what the search box looks like. And for starting to search, uh, my favorite way to search, you're searching for a name. And what the great benefit of this is that you're searching that whole transcribed document. So if we're looking at things like probate records, a lot of indexes, they might not say the heirs on them. They have the person who died. Um, Maybe there's something related to an administrator, but a lot of times they don't name the heirs in those indexes that we use. So this is a way to find a name anywhere in the document. And what I like to do is I like to put a name in quotes. And this is not an exact search. What this is a proximity search. So these words could be in any order. Maybe there's a middle name in between. Maybe there's a couple middle names in between or a maiden name in there. It'll be a few words apart, those two terms that you put in the quotes. So then you can put in a place. So I'm going to put Massachusetts, and you can put in a year range if you want to. And, just like searching family search, you can put as much or as little information as you know. And then you can click search. And so you can see how it's highlighted those terms. It not only searches, so it searched for the name I put in there, and you can see it highlights the location as well. So um, a lot of times when you're searching and restrict it to a location, you're only going to find records from that location. But what full text does is it'll search for a keyword of that location too. So it could be, a record in Canada, but that person was born in Massachusetts, and whatever record it brings up had that detail that they were born in Massachusetts in it, and you'll still get that as a result. And then we have filters. So you can choose whatever, filters you want. So we've got some records here. You can choose a particular, year range. We've got a place. You can choose a record type. And, there might be a lot of choices. And then once you're ready with what you want to do, you click apply the filter. And I'm just going to narrow down the place a little bit more. And I am going to choose some counties. Franklin and Hampshire County. So I went from thousands of hits down to 17 different hits. Let me just move this out of my way here. Let me I'm going to refine the collection. And what's really nice about this is, sometimes on a document you have trouble seeing exactly where a particular word is. And if you look at the transcription, which is off to the right, it highlights the terms. And I was looking for Alicia Williams. And if I click on that, it will see how I hover on it. There's Alicia and there's Williams. And it's, you can see right where it is on the document. So that's one of the great things. We were just doing some transcribed documents. If you know something is on Family Search, this is a great thing, to the right-hand side here. Let me just. So we have some choices here, and you can click on all of these different things. I can click on transcript. If it's not on transcript, click that transcript button, and you've got the transcription. You can click copy to copy the transcription. You can click download to download the transcription. You could look at this document side by side. I showed you how to do, with the keyboard to put documents side by side. Family Search does this for you. So if you're reading this document and you see errors in this transcription, you can click on the pencil here. You can see if you hover over it, it says Edit Transcription. So you can edit it right there and make it correct for everyone. And document summaries, that's built in there. So here's a nice summary of the document. And again, you can download that or copy that. So, those are some shortcuts. If you know something is in Family Search, maybe you don't want to play with ChatGPT. Maybe you just want to use Family Search. And, there can be, like I said, there can be errors in this too. So you always have to read the document and make up your own decision. But, it's kind of a shortcut if you don't want to use those large language models. Now, I did want to show you something that some people don't realize. Um, if we go into the Family Search catalog, and so if we're looking by place and you want to find, your records about Essex, Ontario, Canada, you click search, it's going to show you some records. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this probate records. This is one way that you can tell if a record set is in full text. So, maybe you use this record set a lot and you've looked through the indexes, but you want to know, has this been put, transcribed? And if you look, you scroll down and you look here, you can see there's the camera. So you could see an image of these registers here. If you see this little like piece of paper with a star on it, that means that this has been transcribed and put in full text. And if I were to click on this particular item, it's going to bring up a box that will search this specific item. So maybe you don't want to search all of full text. Maybe you just want to search that little bit. And another thing to pay attention to are these image group numbers. Now, let's say you wanted to search multiple of these sections for your ancestor. If I click here, it'll search this section. And you can just trying to move something out of my way. You can edit your search. So you can put, somebody's name in there if you want to. You can see it brings up the image group number that we selected. Now, if you want to, you can put more in there. You can keep adding them. You can add a whole bunch of them and search those. So you're searching those specific image group numbers, and you could search for a name. And, then you've got your hits and you've just searched those specific records. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I hope that you all learned something tonight. I would be happy to answer any questions. Like I said, the handouts that Cindy has put in the chat, I gave you my slides so you can see those step-by-step instructions and all those websites. And I also gave, as a bonus, I gave to using Family Search full text, something that I did for my local library. So I put that handout and it gives you a lot of different search tips.
That was great. Whoops, there is so many new websites and tools, I guess. I've never even heard of half of these. So that was wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm going to try Google Lens for sure.
Yeah.
It was more of a comment than a question. Just about the way that you can just upload one document and then from that one document ask it to do this and then this and then this and then this and then this. That's brilliant. So that was
Yes.
the one comment that someone appreciated you showing that because I'm not sure that everybody realized that you could just keep going and going and going. So it's like having an unpaid employee.
Yes. Yes. It's
That's wonderful.
your own assistant.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just say family search, and we talked about this before we came on, that the full text search for me has been a game changer. I
Yes.
have found so much stuff in there from my ancestors, and a lot of it has been the wills and the probates. So,
Yes.
and those are just jam packed with so much information that yeah, it has been a game changer in my own research. So, Pat, is there any questions that came into you specifically?
No, there were no questions, but I did have a comment from Wendy who said that was fantastic. Thank you, Rhonda. The clearest explanation I have experienced.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. That's nice. I appreciate that feedback, because you know what's in your head, but you don't know if you're saying it so that other
Yeah.
people understand sometimes. So I appreciate that. I do.
Tammy, did any questions come to you?
Nope, no questions.
I do see one here from a Julie. My question is, when I upload my document or photo or whatever, does the AI entity keep my work and use it to learn more? You can change your settings so that it doesn't do that. Let me see if I can. Let's see here. Let me get up ChatGPT here, and then I'll share my screen. Let's see. Okay, let me just share now. So one thing that you can do is, you can delete any of these chats over here to the right hand side. When you do something, it'll save the chats and you can go ahead and delete those chats. So you can hit delete and then that one goes away. And then here with your settings, sometimes when you in your personalization, you want to turn off that it doesn't reference your chat history and that it doesn't reference any saved memories. Um, and if you turn those off, it'll forget that information. And so that is turned off now.
That's a good question, Julie.
Let me just stop with that.
Sheila Johnson, she says, I've learned so many new tips tonight. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Peggy Turner says that was so interesting, very helpful. Thank you so much. The one thing, again, before the meeting, we talked about how I was introduced to Chat GPT, and I was saying, I am not using that. No way, no way. A couple months into it, I was finally convinced to do it. But what you should, and I love it now. So I would just upload a picture and say, fix this.
Yeah.
So you have really made a point to say, to ask it specifically, not just fix this, what do I want fixed about it, and what do I want to do with it? So those are really good tips about, telling it more specifically and making more directions of what we want. I'm sure are going to have much better results.
Yes. Yes. That's the key is, it might interpret, you have to be careful with your wording. Try not to use, a word that has, multiple meanings. If you can avoid that, try to do that. And it'll understand you better. And limitations and, for something you like put some checks on it, like I mentioned, just to see its reasoning.
John Reed says, very good presentation. I found that you can perhaps have half as many hits again if you search at an affiliated family history library rather than at home. You also get a few more at the family history library. He's asking what your experience is with that.
Yes, you do get more hits if you're at an affiliate. I'm lucky that the library I work at is an affiliate, so that's where I do a lot of my searching. And I get so disappointed when I come home and I try to do the same thing and it won't work. So, and it's hard when you're at an affiliate, you can't see, you know, that you can only see it there. So it's kind of tricky like that. But you definitely will get more hits because you have access to more records when you're at the affiliate.
And I know that the society itself has a good working relationship. So a lot of our libraries that are partnered or connected with our branches are affiliated libraries now because we made a point to do that and get them hooked up. So I know that there are lots across Ontario. So you could definitely ask your library if it's close to you if they're affiliated. And if they're not and they'd like to be, that's something that the society can help you set up too. There's another question here from Sheila. Cindy, it would be very interesting to find out amongst the branches how it is being used. Sheila, do you mean the affiliated library? Pat, did you have any more questions?
Just a comment from Barbara that this was so informative. I am itching to try this. Thank you very much. And I second that as well. I've got a
I
long
especially like it for transcriptions. That's what got me, going is because, I don't particularly like to type things out. But you still do have to check it. Some people say about the transcriptions when you're doing it yourself, you'll ingest that information more, but you still do have to go back and check it. You have to, so you do still digest some of that information, but you don't have to do all that typing if you don't want to do that typing.
So Sheila just clarified, she's just wondering, in general, are the branches using AI for indexing and transcribing and those sort of things? So yeah, that is a good conversation. Maybe we can ask at Let's Talk. We have a meeting once a month between all our branch volunteers. So that could be something we bring up. I know specifically for Kent branch, we just put together a month-long, almost like a beginner's class. And, myself and the other girl were going, okay, we're going to come up with some kind of an agenda and a format. And she's like, hey, let's just do it through here. So we went to GPT Tat, said, create us, and we did use a little more wording this time, create us a 4-week beginner genealogy, break it into, 4 weeks and different topics. And I was shocked at how it came out. It was so professional. It was exactly what we wanted. And so instead of us going through and trying to pull resources from all around the room and trying to figure out, it was, so this whole thing could be a game changer, I think.
And I think it does get better and better. And I noticed images. I like to use images, especially for like, putting like a presentation image in our library's calendar. I like to make images because, I get bored with just putting a picture of a tree or something up there. So I just I give a description of the class and just tell it to make an image a lot of the time. And sometimes I'll tell it, okay, give me three choices. And I usually end up with, the first one that it gives me because it's so good.
And I know also as a newsletter editor for a couple of the branches, and I know Alan's on as well. The one thing that, and I think I did ask Alan this question, is if we do use something generated by AI, the sourcing for it is, how are we going to start sourcing these things in our
Yeah.
newsletter, on our website, and just
Yeah.
that's something. So if you come across how you are sourcing it, if you're putting it into, your family history or you're sharing it somewhere.
Yeah, you always want to put, if you put a picture, you don't want people, 100 years from now thinking it's a real picture of something when it was really AI.
Mhm.
Usually you put a caption, with it, or even watermark the image to make sure that people know it was generated by AI, just so people don't get confused in the future.
Right. So Chris Hitchcock actually has his hand up. So Chris, if you can unmute yourself, if you wanted to ask your question, go ahead.
Yeah, just a caution about hallucinations and AI. Jim and I produced a lovely old map dated at 1750, showed me all kinds of things that were accurate and occurred in a text. But when I did a Google Lens lookup, that image doesn't exist. And it was completely synthesized. And although it has some utility, it also looks like an old map.
Yeah.
Um, and I've also, it will speak with complete authority about complete crap.
Yes.
And it's really important to remember that there's no there behind it.
Hmm.
And that it's very happy to be told it doesn't know what it's talking about. But it's really easy to be seduced by the apparent coherence of what you get.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely produces things that look real, that sound real, and that's why you have to check everything.
And I think as genealogists, we should be trained that that's what we're doing anyways, is we're checking and checking and checking and checking to make sure the information is correct, not just taking someone's word for it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we are good at double checking things, but I'm sure definitely are some things like that map would be very interesting, and people would get so excited thinking that, oh, there's a map from that year.
Yeah. Yeah. I know as a librarian, sometimes we have patrons come in and they'll be on their phone just chatting with ChatGPT, and the information that it's telling them is wrong, but they really think it's true, and it is a big concern in libraries to inform the public about these technologies.
Right. So I just dropped Rhonda's handout in the chat one more time. I'm hoping everybody was able to get it. If for some reason you are not able to access the main chat and you could not download it, shoot us an email at the branch and we will send you both of her handouts. So no problem with that. Just let us know that you can't get it or didn't get it. We're at the top of the hour, so we will let everyone go. Thank you so much. That was great. As everyone said, I think we're all going to be running off or tomorrow or the weekend and looking at all the different, things that you said to try out and different techniques and all those tips and tricks that you offered us. So that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was nice being with you all tonight.
Well, have a good evening in Buffalo
Thank you.
in your 3 feet of snow.
My 3 feet of snow. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for
See you.
joining us, and we'll see you all next month. Goodbye. Thanks to Tammy and for Pat for helping as well. Good night.